Welcome to the Consistency Club podcast. Today we've got a very, very special guest on our podcast, one of our incredible clients, and I don't use the word incredible lightly. His journey has been a fantastic one, and I think there's a lot of clues and success of his journey that many people will find valuable. Maybe it will resonate with them in terms of their lifestyle, their obstacles, and where they want to go in life. I mean, Justin, I'll introduce you very, very shortly, my friend, and we'll go through your journey as well, because it's always important to hear your perspective and understand what it's been like internally and mentally for you intrinsically, because it's been a hell of a ride that we've been on. You've had some incredible results. But just to preface that with, this guy technically had every excuse in the world not to execute, but he did. Has never moaned, never complained, never whined once, and has just executed to a really high level, which is why he's where he is now with his health and his business, which we'll touch on. So, again, welcome to the episode. And Justin, if you will, my friend, introduce yourself to anyone watching.
Sure. Justin LaGosh here. I'm incredibly lucky to have met by fate Jamie through a direct message in news recruiting for clients last winter when I was at a pivotal moment in my life of making a career change, choosing to leave a high-level executive corporate job for my health and start my own business. At that time, it's a very scary time, especially with three young kids. I've got three daughters from 8 down to 2. And to make that decision is a leap of faith to jump in and decide if I'm going to be successful in this journey, in this transition, I have to have my health. Invest in a lot of things, but without your health, none of it matters. So that's where my journey began. I spent my time in the consumer packaged good industry, primarily in food, prior to starting my consulting services business, named after my three daughters, DX3 Consulting, in the space, and have been blessed by the opportunity to take my health and marry that up with my business for the last 9 months now.
Yeah, and it's been, as I said, it's been an incredible journey, and I think let's go back right to the beginning. And for anyone listening that is thinking, what does Jamie do? What do the Consistency Club do? I'll just give you a very sort of high level summary. So we help executive men and women, leaders in business and in sales, optimize their health and prioritize their health amongst a busy schedule. So for people like you, Justin, one of the biggest obstacles is, of course, time. It's time, it's energy, it's mental bandwidth. You've got, a relatively young family at home. You've got three daughters. You've got your wife to think about. At the time, you're obviously transitioning into your corporate career. And what I saw time and time again from my experience within corporate is the worlds do not go together. Like the corporate world and being in a position of leadership or sales or in a role in which you get out what you put in, whilst trying to juggle all of family life and home life and a social life and everything else life throws at us, it just doesn't advocate good health. And so it was a real passion of mine to create a service that mitigated that, and help people build a solution around their lifestyle that takes into account everything that makes them. And Justin, you've spoken on a few of them, of course, like family is everything. What we do is essentially in somewhat within our life, semi our identity. And so it's important those things are considered when it comes to your health. And a lot of people just have the perspective and the mental or the mindset that I can't physically execute to a high level. I have no time. Time is fleeting. No time equals I can't execute. And they'll just run with that for 10, 15, 20 years until maybe it's too late or they slow down a little bit and then they start to execute. And it's just not the appropriate way to go about it. So let's go right back to the beginning, Justin. Obviously, like you said, it was fate, and I found you on LinkedIn and sent you a message, and we had that initial call, which was literally no more than an audit or a consultation, a chance for us to meet, me find out where you were, what were your biggest pain points. So let's start there. What would you summarize at that time, going back, 9 months ago? What were the biggest pain points for you then in relation to your health, your fitness, your well-being, obviously, especially given you're in that period where you're transitioning from the corporate role into running your own business?
Yeah, that was a period of time where I was self-aware enough to understand that change needed to happen. I could see it going down that road really fast where it was going to be too late. I was going to have major health issues. I wasn't going to be there for my family. So it was time to prioritize some time towards it. And I think what really blew me away by our initial conversation was I wanted to screen for. I don't want to be on a stage bodybuilding someday. Those days are beyond me. But I want someone who understands, realistically what is available for time. I think one of the exercises we went through in onboarding was, what does your day look like? How many days a week can you realistically, for how long can you train? What can you realistically follow habitually for long term? Not how do I get you there? It's what can be a lifestyle change that you can actually do with the time that you have and the position that you're in. And we all have time. And in the corporate world, it's water cooler time, it's coffee time, it's long lunches, it's all kinds of time that we waste. And when you're in good health, how much more you get out of the time that you're executing, both in training and in business, coincide with one another. And so that initial call was, okay, this approach is a really good one. And I think I told you that. I said, hey, I have to get 3 girls off. My wife travels too. I can squeeze in this much time, this many days a week. Where do I put it? And then how do I adapt to that when things change? And holding accountability, having someone to hold you accountable to that, whether it's from across the pond or not, it's still anyone who likes to be held accountable, which most humans do. You get that with having a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things, and I think for many people, and maybe you experienced this as well, and I think we discussed this at the very beginning, even if, let's say you could find the time and you had the energy and we have all the best will in the world mentally, it's knowing why we're doing it, what we're doing, and the result of doing so, isn't it? It's having that action plan, that skeleton plan that says this is the direction we're going in. And of course, like, two of the biggest things that I always go on about, and you would have heard me say many a time to you, Justin, is longevity and sustainability of results. So to do that, we have to be flexible. We have to be dynamic. I mean, we've been through a period over the past sort of week or couple of weeks where you've been traveling a hell of a lot. You've been out of routine, but because of, particularly that first 6 months you spent with us in the inner circle, we've built the habits, the routines, the lifestyle, but more importantly than that, the mindset of how to execute to the best of your ability to mitigate any negative downfall from that. And I think best of your ability in that moment is a really key statement, because what people end up doing, and I'm sure you experienced this as well, is we wait until going back to, day one where we connected and before you were part of the Consistency Club, we wait until the point where motivation's really high, because we leave it until we're in a really negative position. And internally it builds up and we go, oh God, I know I need to do something. Now, for us, obviously, there were many things at play. We've been on incredible physique transformation, like a fat loss journey. We've solidified the routines around your lifestyle that almost anchor you as an individual, as a businessman. We've gone through, energy improvements, sleep improvements, health marker optimization. So it's more than just a physique transformation, but you're at a point at which, you recognized internally you were problem aware. So what tends to happen if you don't have the appropriate structure and the know-how, which is important, I stress, by the way, we're not given the tools naturally whilst we're in the education system to do this. We're taught eat relatively well, sleep a decent amount, and get some exercise, 45 minutes a few times a week. And that's basically all we're taught, which is sacrilege, isn't it? So to have your family be running the family, the household, and be, whether you were in your corporate position as MD previously or cutting that off and then doing your own thing, like, that's a huge amount of mental bandwidth you would have to sacrifice. So people go all in, burn out, crash down again, and they just end in that kind of yo-yo cycle. And people do that for their entire lives, which can be extremely detrimental. So the fact that you were in that position, you executed, you made a decision, you made an action plan, thankfully for us, because, and for me personally, because obviously I've been your direct coach, it's been an incredible journey, and I've loved working with you today, but you decided the Consistency Club was the place for you. and you've reaped the rewards for that. And I think a lot of people don't take action because they feel, internally they know there's a challenge coming their way if they are to execute, and you face that head on. So just going back to that decision, give myself and the audience an idea of where you were mentally when you made that decision. You committed, obviously, right place, the universe spoke, we connected, we had our conversation, but where were you at mentally within your life, within your mindset, your link to your health and fitness then?
Yeah, I wasn't in a good place. I definitely was embracing things that were unhealthy, to try to relieve the stress of the corporate world at that time, and the growing family, the young family, and the busyness. And again, it took, for me and for everyone, it's different, but my faith got stronger and stronger too. And so when I embraced that, it helped me become more self-aware that I wasn't being as good of a father and a husband, and a protector and a provider as I needed to be. I was catching myself because of my poor health habits, whether it be, having too many cocktails at night to fall asleep with your mind running, whether it was overindulging and eating way more than you needed to eat, and then having the snowball effect of not having energy to do anything about it. It really took a decision that I know I'm gonna have to embrace the suck to change this. And luckily, I've got a personality that growing up, I was a collegiate athlete at one point in time, believe it or not, and I know what it takes to get results. I know how to be mentally tough, but in today's world, it's really easy, especially in your late 30s and early 40s and beyond, to say, well, this is easy. Do I really have to? I can get by. And I would just say that I was not at all in a place that was going to give me longevity and allow me to be a good father and a good husband to my family.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, problem aware, recognizing that is the first thing. What made you, when we connected and we had our first conversation, were you in the market mindset wise for a coach, some external accountability, or was it literally just a discovery thing for you to understand, okay, what is out there at the time?
No, I knew, because of that self-awareness, that if I was going to take on starting my own business and giving up over half of our household income, that to be successful, I had to have my health and I had to have the energy to build something. And I didn't have it at that point in time. And with all of the things on my plate, just like you hire someone to manage your money, just like you hire someone to manage, whatever services you pay for in your life, why don't we think about having an expert manage, a program to execute against and hold us accountable to? Just like we make a budget in business and we have to follow it and we have to hit sales quotas and we have to find new clients and we have to get deals done. Why don't we do that with our day-to-day health execution and have accountability and see results from that? We in all other areas of life we do. So I knew that I had to delegate that very important or most important way for me to be successful to an expert. Then it was, well, who is it? And you just happen, right time, right place. And then your approach was one that I embraced.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think this is why we've had such a great journey, and we connected and we resonated with each other, is because everything you said there, you speak my language and the language of the Consistency Club, recognizing that external accountability when it comes to your health and well-being, as you said, it's in business, in finance, in our work, in our relationships, in every aspect of life, we have so much naturally occurring societal external accountability. We don't really have that for our health, and it tends to be. I think it's just the way we're programmed, but it's not an issue until it's an issue, with our
Right.
health, or until we're in a bit more comfortable space and it's a bit less of a challenge to get to the gym or get out for a walk or run or prep your food. We just kind of partition it, we just crack on about life. We're on the daily grind, particularly in this day and age. It's non-stop, isn't it? So again, I'm so glad you made that decision. Just going back to the early stages, and maybe you touched on something there whilst you were speaking about cutting your household income down, which I think is a really important point, because I don't believe it's still, which it is slightly changing and it needs to change, but a societal norm to invest in this area. I think that's changing. I think it's predominantly changing in the US. It's slowly changing here in the UK as well. But still, like, society celebrates, going out, having beer with friends, going out for food, doing all of these things. But then if you were to tell someone close to you, I spent X on a coach for my health and well-being, the natural reaction from most of them would be, what? So just, yeah, exactly. So just give me an idea of, one, what that was like internally in the household, having that conversation, because you committed to me, and then I appreciate you've got, a better half you've got to go have the conversation with. So what was that like in terms of the family dynamic?
Well, I have an unbelievable spouse who understands me really well, and she knows me well enough to say if I've committed and made a decision, that before we're having the conversation, that she might as well just work on internalizing and getting herself on board, because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I don't make those grandiose decisions without a lot of thought.
Yeah.
And it usually just takes a conversation to wrap her head around it. And I had a similar conversation, just like I shared. I said, in order for me to be here for the family long term, and to be a better husband, and to be a better father, and to be successful at this venture, I need to have my health. And I don't have the bandwidth to do that and build this and be there. I don't, and I won't stick with it. And I need to try something different. And had an understanding conversation about that. Now, don't get me wrong, when you walk away from a high paying corporate career and you've become accustomed to that lifestyle as a family, there's a lot of pain that comes with that. There's a lot of uncertainty that comes with that. I will tell you that, especially as Americans, and I'm sure globally, you have no idea what you waste your money on until you actually take half of it away and realize that it's not that painful. Because when you're cognizant of it, you're self-aware of your financials, just like you are of your health. You think, oh, how are we going to do this? There's no way we can do this. Actually, those are words in that conversation of, how can we afford to do this?
Yeah.
Walking away with no revenue coming in and saying, I'm going to spend X number of dollars on a health coach, and I'm going to spend X number of dollars on traveling to get clients for my business, and I've got nothing coming in. So you can imagine, out of all positions people are in, that's one of the toughest. And I can tell you it paid dividends, because we learned a lot about not only our health, but our finances, right? Going through the budget with a fine-tooth comb. But what do you spend stuff on, or what subscriptions do you have that add up? I think we added up over $400 or $500 worth of subscriptions we didn't know we had at that point.
Which is crazy, isn't it? They add up, don't they? You've got the Netflix, you've got Spotify, you've got all of these things.
Some you signed up for, you didn't use.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I relate to that. And still, I think that's a conversation internally, and obviously it's testament to your relationship for you just to commit and understand, look, she's going to understand that I've put a lot of thought into this, and it's for the best of our family and our your business and your business trajectory as well, which is a nice segue in, because it's something that I speak to all prospect clients, anyone I speak to, I'm passionate about this, is the direct, tangible link between your finances, your relationships, your career success, and your business and your health. Because our health is, it sounds so cliche to say, but it's the cornerstone, it's the foundation. Even if we look at, particularly your situation now, obviously you set up your consultancy, your energy is your currency, particularly with 3 young girls around the house as well. If you are executing with poor energy every single day, that you just can't be 100% version of yourself. It's impossible. You end up becoming, I imagine, irate around the house. You're less fun to be around, and that separation between, dad and businessman and work, because obviously up until recently you've been working at home, becomes a little bit jaded, and just in general you become suboptimal. So even just a simple thing like sleep schedule, making sure you're fueling yourself mentally, which is a lot of people, don't understand the concept of nutrition when it comes to cognitive clarity and cognitive function. We understand we should be eating well, mixed plate, vegetables, 5 a day, all of these concepts that have been like generalized for the general population. But even in business, like when you consider eating consuming carbohydrates will drain blood from your brain into your gut to help with that process. If you're going to go into, whether you've got a pitch for your business or an important meeting, or you need to be really productive over that next work period to close some projects out, you don't want to be eating that stuff. And just being cognizant of what you're eating when you're eating it is really important. So how have you found the journey with, and we'll go over exactly what we've achieved in your health shortly as well, because I think it's important to stress that. But how's it been for you in like the parallels between your health journey, your business journey, both of them rising together? Like give a summary of that if you don't mind.
Yeah, they've been in a parallel trajectory, and which is onward and upward. And a lot of what I credit the prolonged success or the ability to achieve and sustain and continue on is because it's a way of life. It's not a program. And those behaviors are so instilled that when I have an off week of travel or I miss training, I crave it. I literally crave it, and I'm upset about it and can't wait to get back on it. I would have not said that in the first 3 months on this project, right? And I think the eating and the program work around the nutrition and how are you feeling and how much of what macronutrients do you need to have, what time of the day, what does that look like to make you optimal in terms cognitively, has completely blown away by all stretches of the imagination, just exertion or training by itself. Having that nutrition at the right time and the right macros has made me so much more clear. I can give a presentation. I'm clear. I'm concise. The amount of preparation time or the anxiety going into a pitch or a call is not there anymore because I know what I know, and I know I'm not going to feel a brain block or brain fog throughout having to do that. And my business is selling myself. I tell my wife, "Don't worry, I'm selling my knowledge, not myself." But it's in a way that I have to be on, and I have to know my stuff, and I have to be believable, and I have to be clear, concise, and have a flow about it. And I'm a one-man show, so having to juggle 5 or 6 different clients and or projects at a time, I have to be able to change gears and get right back into it, or I'll never keep up.
Yeah, absolutely. And how have you found, because I think a big mental block for a lot of people is the training side. And I'll always stress there's so much more to health and well-being, longevity, fitness than just training and nutrition. You really have to take a holistic approach, which we do and we have done with you. But the training side in particular, how has that, changed your mindset? How have you fit it into your day? Like, give a summary of that, because I think a big mental block for a lot of people is I don't have any time. Maybe they commute 2, 3, 4 hours a day. They're in a role of responsibility. They have a family at home, and in their head, there's genuinely no time to partition for training. And so a lot of times nothing gets executed on. But just give a rundown of how you fit that into your schedule, how you've used it as the anchor, and kind of, the benefits that you've seen from that.
I had to look at my day, and we did that early. What does your day look like today? What can you realistically accomplish? And I think a lot of people make that assumption, and I was the same way. I don't have the time. But when you look at it on an hourly schedule for a day, every day of the week, and you say, I got to make a decision here, because you could fill your schedule up and say I'm busy the whole time. But for me, it was with 3 young kids that are up by 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning to get this done.
Yeah.
Or I have to sacrifice my time with my spouse after the kids go to bed, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And or sacrifice my business execution during the day when they're at school. And so you had to look at that and say, where does this fit in? And it's going to require a change, and it's going to suck until you embrace the change. But once you embrace the change, it's second nature.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's an important statement, is rather than seeing it as a, an absorption of time, is recognizing the benefit of doing so. So how much extra do I get out of my day, out of myself, out of my energy from spending? It doesn't have to be. We've got a protocol at the moment where we've changed your physique, we're pushing strength, we're pushing performance, and it's incredible. We've found a way to work it in, but it doesn't have to be an hour and a half in the gym. It can be 30 minutes a day. And if anyone tells me I don't have 30 minutes in the day, they're lying and they have a mindset problem. And that sounds really patronizing. I don't mean it from that position, because I've been extremely busy, working multiple jobs, etc., etc., same as anyone. But it's just a matter of prioritization, and the lines between lack of time and lack of prioritization are very, very blurred. And of course, some days, like we faced recently, it's impossible to execute. And that's when you have to have the ability with your coach and internally with yourself to have a really honest conversation. Because we all know, our subconscious it's the truth, right? And our subconscious will be extremely honest, and we internalize that. When we sit and reflect to ourselves at the end of the day, we know whether we could have done more, we could have executed to a higher level, we could have found half an hour to work out, we could have made a better choice nutritionally, we could have got to bed a little bit earlier, or we could have got up on our first alarm. All of these things, we know at the end of the day, there's no kidding ourselves, could we have done more? And so, we can always say to ourselves, I can't, I'm busy. You have to make a priority list. And I think that's a important thing as well, is having a list, having a plan, having the structure. How did you, particularly in the early phase, how did you find that change? Because I think that's what scares a lot of people is, I know I need to go on this journey. I know it's going to be hard. I know it's going to challenge me. There's going to have to be some sacrifice. So how did you find that, that first sort of 2, 3, 4 weeks of integrating it and understanding what was needed and what you needed to execute on?
For me, it was focusing on something that you touched on earlier today, which was, the focus, the quiet time, the breathing, whether it's reading, whether it's, prayer, whether it's making a list for the day to prioritize what needs to get done after training, something to center yourself while you wake up. You have your cup of coffee. You don't just jump right in cold to the gym. Like, you give yourself basically a motivational silent pep talk before anyone else is moving in the house, and you center yourself. And having that quiet time, whether it's 20 minutes or 30 minutes before you jump in the training in the morning, and it makes you feel like, when I come back from training, I got my priorities and I'm going to roll and I'm going to execute. I'm not going to be having my 8 to 9 o'clock cup of coffee in the office before I start my first task. It's like, that helped me really center myself and reduce the anxiety of, am I going to be able to get enough done today? And that's what I look forward to now. That first alarm goes off, I look forward to starting the coffee pot and having that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, enjoyment starts to kick in once you've got some momentum, isn't it? Momentum, again, cliche to say, but it's the most powerful force in the universe. And it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a couple of weeks to settle into the routine. Once you start seeing a result, whether that's a physique result, a data-driven result in terms of health metrics, or it's just a mental clarity thing, you wake up and just, when you're questioning yourself, how do I feel today? You go, you know what? I feel really good. I don't feel groggy in the morning. I feel ready to execute to a high level. I got a good night's sleep. I got to bed at a good time. That, as soon as you start seeing the benefit, momentum kicks in and enjoyment starts to kick in. You can start to understand, okay, I can see in my mind's eye the impact this is going to have on my life over the next, you're in the inner circle for 6 months. You'll now carry on, which is fantastic, which is extremely powerful. Let's delve into the results. And I'd love this to be, in your words, because they're your results. And I understand when anyone invests at the end of the day, of course, my job is to make sure we deliver the best service in the world. It's a great experience, but ultimately you're investing for the result. So give a summary of the results that you've seen to date, from energy, from productivity, from, weight loss and how much you've lost. Just give a summary if you don't mind.
Sure. I'm going to start with all the things I asked about. That, of course, comes with changing the habits. And my energy has been better than it has since I left my collegiate career of wrestling. My strength is right back where I peaked out in 2007, 2008. Um, at 37 years old, that's pretty special. My relationship with my daughters and my wife has gotten extremely better. And my business that I started in February of 2023 um, has more than replaced the income of my top earning year of my corporate life. I mean, that's undeniable, and there's no way without the energy created from transitioning my health and my well being would have occurred. I have no doubt if my habits wouldn't have changed. Um, and overall, I was at my highest weight around 265 pounds. You can do that in kilograms like yesterday because I have to get my Google calculator all the time. I was 120 kilograms or something like that. I was,
Yeah.
up to now, and, settled out at I set a target of, of 100, but we made it 99.9 to get down to.
Yeah.
And I've been hovering around that. I think at a low, I was at 98.7, and this morning I was down to 101 again. But I'm kind of in there, but I'm getting stronger. I'm moving more weight, and I'm able to keep my energy sustained, and I'm able to enjoy the foods. And I think one of the things too I want to mention. It's not, people always ask, well, what aren't you getting to do? What aren't you getting to eat? And I think that the biggest thing was, no, this program is, what choices are you going to make? And what does that mean for your next meal? Like, if you
Yeah.
want to have a cheeseburger, have a cheeseburger. That means you're having protein shakes or protein powder for the rest of your day, if you're going to hit your macros. So it's been able to be flexible that way. And, but then again, momentum builds on each other. If you eat like crap, you train like crap. And if you train like crap, you don't feel good. If you stay up too late or you're drinking too much that night, you don't want to get up in the morning, and you kind of crave how you feel. And I think so losing 60 or 45 pounds um, over the first 6 months, and not only that, just changing my physique and my energy has been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to, obviously we're on live right now, so I can't bring up the images, but it's probably due that we post a bit of a transformation for you, because it is absolutely incredible. And to think, you look like a different person. I'm sure you won't mind me saying, you look 10 years younger. You now have, a physique you can be proud of. Generally, not just a better physique, a physique you can be proud of, and performance is increasing, like you said, we're around where you were in 2007 in terms of strength, which is incredible. And as you said, at 37 years old, which is a really pivotal time, as internally, naturally, our hormone levels start to change. What are we implementing within our lifestyle to offset that? Naturally, for us men around mid to late 30s, our testosterone is going to dip. So having a resistance training protocol, eating well, sleeping right, staying hydrated, just do everything you can to counteract that trajectory. And, outside of what we achieved in that first sort of 6 months, it's really a conversation now around longevity. And particularly with 3 young girls, the more existential question is, okay, how do we build this? And we kind of treat it in 2 phases, but how do we build this into a complete lifestyle system, a safety net you will use for the rest of your life? Like, I'm sure, and actually it's probably worth you mentioning this and me asking you the question, do you think what you've learned over the last 9 months now, you're going to execute on for the rest of your life? Like, how do you think it's impacted the way you think about your health and wellness, and its tangible link to the rest of your life?
It is, it's learned behavior that I will have for as long as I'm willing to continue to execute it, because muscles that aren't used, they shrink, right? And so if I choose to make a poor lifestyle decision and get off of my habits, and I'm going to have to relearn them at some point in time. And I think that's important about the continuity for me, as I've become accustomed to it, and I'm fearful of all the work being diminished that I put in. At some point in time, it's second nature. Could I understand what portion sizes are and what I should be eating in a day, and what amount of activity I should be getting in, and what types of exercises to do? Again, maybe. Is that the best use of my bandwidth for my time? No, it's not. For me, I just look at it as, how much do I invest in my 401k every year? How much do I invest for retirement?
Yeah.
But I'm not investing in my health to make sure that I keep accountable to the habits that I've formed. Because when no one's looking, look, you never work as hard when no one's looking, right? I mean, unless you're working for yourself, you work pretty hard. But in health, it's easy to take that scapegoat, right, and say, well, I'll let that go. But going through this transformation and seeing these results, that's something you don't want to give back up, because you know what you put in to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going back to, the style and the methodology that we have here at the Consistency Club, was it a question at the beginning, and how have you found the remote system? Because, a lot of people are, and it's something I speak about a lot actually day to day with people, they're motivated by maybe a previous experience or something they've had before, which is an in-person personal trainer. In-person accountability is brilliant. Obviously, I come from that background myself. How have you found the solution as a whole being 100% remote? Obviously, we're across the pond. We have, many US clients. You guys are fantastic. But how's that worked for your lifestyle? And what would you say the key benefits or the takeaways are? And is it something you ever, thought of previously?
I never ever thought of previously that I was going to have 100% remote health coach. Didn't even think it. I can say that for some people that are self-motivated, self-aware, 100% can work. It's just as robust, if not more. And the communication is key, and the check-ins are key. I still owe you photos, by the way, for this week. I was traveling, but yeah, the system has gotten better and better and better and better. Right? From where we started to where we are today with the app and the evolution of the app. It's not hard, and once you make those few minutes as part of your day of putting that data in, and you get something to review, now you've got it.
Yeah, no, exactly, and appreciate the feedback on that. Obviously, one thing from our side is constantly listening to feedback to understand what can we do better, which is really important. But like I said, I come from the personal training in-person background, and one thing that I will always say to many people is, if you're reliant on someone being there in person as, essentially a glorified rep counter at the time, there's a mindset issue at play. Because you're going to be, unless you address that, you're going to be reliant on that system for the rest of your life. You have to understand and have the ability and the motivation, the discipline to put yourself through a intense workout, whether it's in the form that we're doing, which is, slightly hybrid. We've got some incredible strength work in now, some hypertrophy work. Of course, we do, exercise movement analysis. You send me videos regularly. I'll analyze the form, the biomechanics. And actually, if we look back from video one of some of the movements we're doing now to now, that's been an incredible journey as well. I wish we could bring those up. Once you get out of your own head that I have to meet someone at the gym because it holds me accountable to getting there, I'm letting them down and myself down if I don't turn up. You are the most important person within that perspective. You're doing it for your health. You're doing it for your longevity, your ability to execute, your family, not for someone else who's going to meet you there, not for a PT. So we'll implement the knowledge, the know-how, the skills, but you still need to be able to go there and execute, deliver the training, send the videos. And once you've got that system, again, that's something that will serve you for the rest of your life. Now, I know you had experience, from college around executing to a high level within training, which massively helps. But what would you say from the training that we've implemented, particularly, what would you say has been the biggest, number one takeaway, whether it's from the exercise movement analysis that we've done or anything like that in terms of the training?
Well, I think about it this morning too, because I'm already thinking of the reps I left on the table that I'm going to hear about. after
Yeah.
call. Now it's like, you can have accountability. And right when I rack it, I'm going, oh my gosh, that I had one more and I'm going to hear about it. And so, but your point taken. I think you can do the analysis and say, okay, that squat's not deep enough, or that's too quick of a rep. You need to have, a slower decel. And you can take those learnings and implement them and learn and get that feedback loop and learn, for your next session. Okay, it's not right on the spot right there, but other than that, there's nothing you can't learn from and do with movement analysis. And I know right away, I'm like, I hate videotaping myself. Glad I did. I mean, there's a lot I learned from it, and a lot of my movements got way better, and I saw the results of it, and in terms of the amount of weight being able to move and the increased mobility, all the things that you hear about. And I look around the gym now and I go, no one knows how to lift weights in here.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
once you learn it, you kind of take pride in that. And I think you can take pride in doing things right, whether you get the feedback virtually or not.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. And I think, one thing from a remote solution as well, which is why the Consistency Club is 100% remote now, is the value that we can provide you guys as the clients is tenfold. Because we take a holistic approach, we're not, time restricted to the hour that you've booked for just training. You turn up, I need to get you out within 5 minutes because someone else is coming in for a session. We run over, they're late. It's this whole thing. And that's the world of PT. I was in it for many years. So, having this system that we've crafted over a decade, and it works, and then just building it around someone's lifestyle like Kaleido. So the strategy is always the same, but the actual frameworks that we use, the actual service is completely different. It would be completely different for, me as it was to you. No one person that's been through the inner circle has ever had a cookie cutter program, because your life looks totally different to, one of our other clients, which is really important. Give me, a summary of, just in your own words, your experience to date. I want to celebrate from your side the success, and I know I've said it already in this podcast, but I'll say it again. You've executed to a high level near enough every single week, unless we've had lifestyle things that have come up, which we've navigated, which is literally, it's the value add of the solution is when the times get hard, you get busy, you've got holidays, you've got these social circumstances. How do we navigate them? I always say to people, don't execute when you feel like, oh, I've got a bit of an easy patch coming up. This is going to be, I'll deal with it then. Deal with it when you're stressed. You feel like you have no time, you're burnt out, and you need to execute, because that's where you're going to get the most value. But yeah, how have you found juggling all of life and this? And we'll bring to a close, and I'd love to know, your holistic view of your experience today. But what's the biggest takeaway for you in terms of coming on board, building your business, managing family life, having all of the technical excuses in the world of, now might not be a right time?
well, my overall view is one that you touched on, which is important when you're comparing the traditional one-on-one trainer. I'm going to get a trainer in the new year. I'm going to do this. With anything, it has to be a personal decision that I'm going to do this. This is a goal of mine. I'm going to execute against it. And you have to have that intrinsic motivation in anything you do, and your health is no different. And once you flip that switch, this program provides direct feedback in a timely manner. It tracks data that allows you to see your progress. The communication is second to none, and you get a chance to actually, if you make poor decisions, well, at least the data shows that you made poor decisions, and you get to see that, and no one needs to scold you about it. You just go, I gained a ton of weight on that vacation. I made some really poor decisions. Now, what am I going to do about it? But that's what it is. It's data there for you to choose. Am I going to ruin everything that I work for, or am I going to get back on the horse, and am I going to execute at a high level? I think I sent you a message last night after last week. I am so excited to get in to my training this week. I'm not traveling, even though my wife's traveling right now. She just went to the airport. I'm going to find a way to do it. I can make excuses, but you're to get to a point where when you have, a holiday, you have things that come up and you go do it and go enjoy it. Life is short.
Yeah.
Enjoy it, but understand what the consequences of what you're going to do are. And if you're willing to give up a week's worth of work for a Friday, Saturday and not get anywhere, that's a choice. But if you do that, once every couple months, that's living, that's sustainable, right? And you're going to get back on the horse and do it. Take vacations, enjoy yourself. And you've been really good at vocalizing that. This isn't a boot camp. This is a lifestyle coach that's going to understands that you have to enjoy what you're going to do. So that my biggest overall takeaway is that. I mean, it's changing a lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And last two questions, because we're coming up to the hour mark, and really appreciate your time. I think, and I experience it, and you will definitely experience it in your life as well. Do you know that the feeling where there's always work to be done? There's always something to be done, particularly within business, isn't there? And I think what a lot of people struggle with is separating that feeling with dedicating some time to go and prioritize, whether that's some meal prep, whether that's, a bit of breath work, whether that's executing on some training, because they've constantly got the thought in their head of, I've got this project on, I've got deadlines, and that's an ever evolving thing that's never ever going to go away. So how have you overcome the obstacle mentally of separating yourself from that and understanding, right, I'm doing this for me, for the sake of my business. Yes, it means I might not get a task done within this time period, but for, big picture thinking, it's going to be the best.
But for the most part, it's not a lot of people are working at 4:30 in the morning yet. So that time is like, if I can, that's when you do it. Like it's going to happen tomorrow and Wednesday, my wife's traveling and I can't leave my 3 kids at home and go to the gym. I'm going to have to find a way to block out time in my work day to do that. And we all have calendars. We live by them and work.
Yeah.
But going into that, 15-minute reminder, you're going to go execute. That's just like going to another meeting that you sit in. And you have to change your mindset for, if you're pitching to a different client, you don't say, well, I'm still thinking about the last one or the next one. And it has to be that important. To your point of prioritization, it has to be that important and be a part of your life, because people can spin their wheels at 11, 12 o'clock at night about something they're going to do nothing about besides worry about it. Or they can get their rest and they can get up, make a plan and execute against it in a clear mind with high energy. And that's going to be way more beneficial than always thinking about what I could be doing or should be doing. Because at the end of the day, I've been there. I've been working till midnight at night in my corporate life. I got nothing done in 4 hours, but I felt like I was working.
Yeah.
And so there's a difference between quality work and the amount of time that you're working. And you can do much higher quality work when you're in good health.
Yeah, for sure. And finally then, just if you don't mind, summarize in your own words, and feel free to be, brutally honest, your experience to date with the Consistency Club.
Well, right away, I was going, oh my gosh, how am I going to diary every aspect of my day forever? Am I going to make it 2 months? Am I going to make it 3 months? This is the 30 minutes I get to talk to my wife uninterrupted, and I'm sitting here journaling what I ate today, or putting my health markers into a Google sheet. And I'm going, she's like, what are you doing out there? This is our 30 minutes we get to talk before you're going to be falling asleep again from getting up, and navigating those challenges to getting better and better at it. And then, to your credit, the technology advancing to a point where it makes it easier to track. You're not bringing a piece of paper to the gym anymore and then translating it later into a Google sheet, or trying to do a Google sheet on your phone, which I tried for a period of time. That's gotten better and better and better. And I think part of that was just finding what was going to work best to be the most efficient. But once I got it down, I mean, that's just the way of life now. That's just part of the day.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it. Well, it's been a pleasure to speak to you again. I know we caught up in good detail last week as well. So, and get those photos sent over to me as well. and I'll get your exercise movement analysis done, which is due. I've got those waiting to be done today. But it's been a pleasure speaking to you, my friend. I really appreciate you joining the podcast for an episode, and I hope anyone that listens takes value from your experience, from your journey, from leaving your corporate job, cutting your household income by near enough half, investing in your health, and the parallel journey you've been on with both of them, whilst, 3 young girls at home, your incredible wife, is testament to yourself, is testament to your mindset. And yeah, I couldn't be proud of you, genuinely. So it's been a pleasure to be part of your journey. I'm excited for what we're going to do in the future. And yeah, thank you for joining this week's episode of the Consistency Club.
Appreciate it, Jamie, and hopefully that you can help change other people's lives who are in this position.
Legend. Speak very soon, my friend. Thank you so much.
All right. See ya.